This is the Investor Connect podcast program. I'm Hall T. Martin. I'm the host of this show in which we interview angel investors, venture capital, family offices, private equity, and many other investors for early stage and growth companies. I hope you enjoy this episode. Need help in finding investors for your startup, fund, or angel group? 10 Capital provides funding as a service helping you find accredited investors. Contact 10 Capital to gain access to investors for angel and venture capital funds, family office rounds, and syndication raises. To learn more, go to 10capital.group. Well, hello, this is Hall Martin with Investor Connect. Today we're here with Davron Karimov, CEO of FunderHunt. FunderHunt specializes in getting capital to business owners across America who are doing $5,000 and above in monthly revenue. Davron, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So tell us more about your background. What did you do before working with early stage companies?
I always was fascinated with dealing with B2B and business owners. So for me, it was just a natural progression to find something else that was in working with business owners. But I've always been, dealing with business owners.
Great. And then, so what excites you right now?
What excites me right now is the programs that we have, the funding programs. We just get very creative with the ways we give out capital nowadays. And there's always new products that were coming out, new investors. And it's super fun when, I'm on a funding call where I'm getting this person funded late at night, or, it's very exciting.
That's great. And so you talk about creative ways of handing out funding. Can you mention one or two of them?
Yes. So I guess a majority of our clients that need the money fast, they would be put into some of our shorter term programs, but we also have longer term programs for our, the really good financials and really good numbers, the business owners that are doing good numbers.
I got you. Okay. Well, great. Well, you see a lot of startups and a lot of investors out there. What's your advice for people investing in startups? What do you tell them to do before they write that check?
Look at the financials. You want to make sure that the guy has a track record or girl has a track record of doing a good business. They're not running away from bills. They're able to handle themselves. And this additional cash flow would just help them out right now, because the majority of people that are taking our capital need it fast. But just make sure it's not a bad business, that they have revenue, that they have income coming in. And at the end of the day, as long as it makes sense for us, we're going to put the capital in their account.
Great. And then on the other side of that table, what's your advice for startups? What do you tell them to do before they go out to raise funding?
Know what you're going to use the capital for 1,000%. You don't want to go into a situation where you just keep on taking out financing and, get to the point where you're over leveraged, because that's not good either. But just making sure that you have a solid foundation and that, your business is running smoothly before you start taking on investors.
Good advice. So let's talk about the state of startup investing. How do you see the industry evolving from here?
It's going to be very interesting to see how the industry evolves, just because of the amount of cash the SBA is giving out right now, or they were giving out. So it's going to, and then that on top of what we can give them, it's going to be very interesting. Back to the thing about being over leveraged. I don't know what's going to happen. There's just a crazy amount of money flying around. So it's going to be, I'm curious to see what happens in the next 10 years.
And so what do you think is the biggest change you'll see in the next, say, 12 to 24 months?
The biggest change is money is definitely going to be more accessible because of technology and things like that. I think anyone that wants to raise money right now, they can go out and get it, especially if you've been in business and you have a good track record.
Cool. And so tell us more about FunderHunt. What exactly is it and how does it work?
So FunderHunt is we fund merchants that are doing $5,000 and above in monthly revenue, whereas a lot of financial institutions would ask you for a lot of paperwork and documents and things like that. We don't really ask for much. All it is a 5 to 8 question questionnaire on our website, as well as looking at 3 months of bank statements. And from there, we can get people approved for about a month's worth of their revenue same day, and we could wire those funds to them in the same day if we get everything back.
Wow, that's fast. So what is your criteria? You mentioned 5K revenue, but what else are you looking for to make sure that that's a good investment?
Well, there's a couple of factors. It's the revenue, it's the industry, the credit score, and the amount of negative days. So we look at bank statements. We don't like seeing people go negative or bounce checks often. That's about it. We're not really asking for your life story. We just want to see what you've been up to recently.
Great. And can you mention one or two startups you've worked with that fit that thesis?
There was a Tap RM in Brooklyn. They had like a beer store, online beer store. We didn't get them funded, but I remember we had a 100K approval that I was hoping to get it done. That guy, he had a very large company, so his partners didn't want him to sign anything that said personal guarantee on it. So that's why that deal fell apart. But that was probably like one of the nicer startups that I've encountered.
Great. And so let's talk about challenges out there. What is the main challenge you see the startups face that you work with?
Challenges for startups, I would say probably you got to know who your customer is and how to get those customers. I mean, there's so many ways right now, but a lot of times we see people just waiting, or I see people just waiting to get their first sales in. When we were starting this, we hit the ground running and tried to get those first customers in the door as quick as possible. I guess that's a challenge for some people, getting that first stream of revenue, especially if you have a high upfront capital investment that you need.
Great. And then what's the challenge the investor faces? What do you find is your challenge when you go out into the market today?
Some of these business owners, I look at them and I'm just like thinking to myself, how did it get this bad? Where were you 6-12 months ago when you could have asked us for capital, but now you're just in a situation where nobody could fund you because you're having a lot of negative days or things like that. Something has to be good about the file. That's what a mentor of mine once told me. And some of these business owners, if they came to us like even 3 months earlier, we could have turned it around for them.
Mm-hmm. Good point. So you see a lot of different businesses in different sectors and applications. What are the hot sectors today to look at? If you had to put one or two at the top of the list, what do you think are really good sectors for starting a business now?
That's a great question. I think as long as you're really good at what you're doing and you're taking advantage of the different means that there are to get yourself out there, I think that you'll be a good business. I mean, I deal with a lot of restaurants. I deal with liquor stores. I deal with trucking companies. I mean, I deal with all types of businesses, but always there's going to be somebody that, that just really committed and put their head into their craft and built something out of it. So I don't really know what sectors. I just know there's always going to be good businesses no matter what.
Great. That's right. So in the last few minutes that we have here, what else should we cover that we haven't?
Yeah, just, we could get people funded real quick. And I think that we have the best programs out there right now. We have really good relationships with our investors. And I think that there are deals that we could do that nobody else in the industry can.
That's great. Well, good to hear. So how best for listeners to get back in touch with you?
For your listeners, they can go on the website. It's funderhunt.co, funderhunt.co. And as I mentioned, the application is right on there. All your contact is on there. Super straightforward application. It could take you about 5 minutes to complete.
Great.
And we'll be in touch.
Well, we'll include those in the show notes. I want to thank you for joining us today and hope to have you back for a follow-up soon.
I appreciate it.
Investor Connect helps investors interested in startup funding. In this podcast series, experienced investors share their experience and advice. You can learn more at investorconnect.org. Paul T. Martin is the director of Investor Connect, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the education of investors for early-stage funding. All opinions expressed by Hall and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Investor Connect. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions.